So the juniors will be out on circuit in a few minutes, of course. I will take the opportunity before we read grids, before we see the cars out there on circuit, to talk to you about the brilliant charity initiative that we're going to have out here shortly, or out here later on after our live stream has concluded. Admittedly, we are going to have a charity bike ride concluding here, having started at the Nürburgring some 500 miles away in East Germany. Sarah and Tom, mother and son, cycling 500 miles from the Nürburgring to the Silverstone race circuit to raise money for Youth at Heart, which is a charity close to both of their hearts. Sarah and Tom's journey will have taken them 6 days, covering 5 different countries on the way. They'll complete the challenge by cycling a lap of the Silverstone circuit this evening at the end of the day's running here at the G-Fest Motorsport Festival.
Looks like as well there's a fair few people in the paddock going to join them on that lap, because there's a fair few bikes out there. Did see a couple of participants, I think that they were out of the Colin White stable, that had bought a tandem with them. Watching them try and ride it for the first time down the paddock and back, it definitely looked like it was the first time, because it was almost like watching the rowing. The one at the front was having to dictate to the one on the back when to press the pedal down so that they stayed at the same sort of rhythm. And you are, of course, on a tandem putting a lot of trust in the one at the front, because you can't really see what's happening when you're the one at the back.
Absolutely. The reason that this charity, Youth at Heart, is so close to Tom and Sarah is that Tom's friend Freddie, who was 15 at the time in 2021, developed rheumatic heart disease, needed life-saving open heart surgery to repair 2 severely damaged valves, followed by a further open heart surgery. Freddie is a massive Formula One fan, and so Tom and family decided this was going to be a fitting challenge to cycle between these 2 racing circuits. Youth at Heart's own adult congenital heart disease facility were a big part of his recovery, and great to see some charity initiatives this weekend, in addition to celebrating 65 years of the Ginetta brand. As you can see, the Michelin Ginetta Junior cars are heading out onto the circuit now, and we are not too far away at all from getting this race underway. Of course, the grid for this one set by their second best times in qualifying. Remember, they only have 3 flying laps in qualifying as well, so quite the pressure cooker situation. And it is the driver leading this queue of cars, Leo Robinson, who will be on pole position. Of course, Leo was briefly leading this morning before Freddie Slater disappeared off into the distance. However, Freddie is going to have an uphill battle this time, because he is starting from 12th position. He has his work cut out. He
really, really does. As you say, they only had 3 laps this morning in which to set a time for the main race. Well, the first time was for race 1. The second best time was for race 2. We saw at least one driver, I think it was Finn Harrison, who had a time deleted as well in that session. So both of his times will have counted. And Freddie Slater, who had that great start to the day, we'll have to work very, very hard for this one. We're not going to get our racing working together at the front to pull away for sure this time out, and it's going to be very, very important. Can Slater do what Mikey Porter did and move up heavily on the opening lap? Remember, Porter went from 8th to 2nd on the opening lap of the first race of the day here this morning at the Silverstone National. So that's going to be very, very important for Slater, getting a clean opening lap. There's looks like Leo Robinson there. Just a quick look over to his team. He's going to go off pole position on the outside. It's Alicia Palmowski alongside on the front row as the horn sounds to clear the grid. We've got one car rolling into position on the 8th row there, just with the black line straight down the middle. So that's one car just arriving a little bit late to the grid.
Well, someone has to be a bit late, right? Alicia Palmowski, as you mentioned, on the front row there as the, I think we just got people, one of the Prep Tech cars, I think that might be the 16 of, who would that be? Tom Spragg, potentially, who was in the wrong place momentarily there. But we will soon see them out onto their formation lap. Big opportunity this for Alicia Palmovsky alongside Leo Robinson. She's been stellar and fighting up at the front all weekend so far, both at the Grand Prix and in the earlier race at the National Circuit today. And I think she'll fancy her chances. Of course, Chase Fernandez, who took a win yesterday on the GP circuit, there on the second row alongside Finn Harrison, who went from 20th to 2nd in race 1 yesterday on the Grand Prix circuit. Even with Slater back there in 12th place, I think really everyone from pole to Slater could well be in with a win, a shot at a win.
I think you could be right. It looks like the game of musical Ginetta Juniors towards the tail end of the field has been completed, as the field are shown the board. They'll get their formation lap behind the safety car, which will then pull over on the pit entrance and allow the field to come through to take their standing start positions at the end of this formation lap. Green flag, and the Ginetta Juniors are off on their way down towards Copse Corner. And the formation lap, of course, Adam, very, very important. It's more than just a procession of going round just to get into position. All about getting the heat into those tyres so that you can get a good getaway, of course.
Absolutely, and it'll be Leo Robinson getting away from pole position alongside Alicia Palmovsky in this race. Row 2, Chase Fernandez and Finn Harrison. Harrison surely relishing the fact that he's starting on the first 2 rows in this race. Henry Jocelyn and Hugo Schwarzer together on row 3. Row 4 of the grid is comprised of Luca Hopkinson and Mikey Porter. 48 and 19 cars respectively. Charlie Hart in the 50 and Freddie Allen in the 66, rounding out the top 10. Row 6 of the grid is Eddie Robinson, and there is Freddie Slater, who's going to have some work to do in the number 7 car. Razor Seaworthen in the 78 and Harry Moss in the 47. On the 7th row, row 8 is Bria Anglis and Alfie Davis. Row 9 of the grid, the 16 of Tom Spragg and Mackenzie Douglas in the 24. And rounding out the order on the final row, Holly Mile in the 23 and Felix Livesley in the 31. The family number by the looks of it for the Livesley family. So then, pulling up towards the grid once again, 20 Ginetta Juniors G40 chassis heading down towards the start-finish straight. And it's all about that drag race to the first corner. Robinson and Palmovsky. Of course, Robinson on the favoured outside line with greater traction, more rubber laid down, but Palmovsky will have the inside, and that can be beneficial.
Well, absolutely. Palmovsky's just got to get away. And as long as she is alongside Robinson into that first corner, will have the track position, of course. As you say, Robinson on the racing line on the outside does seem to be a little bit further behind his start box. He could have easily come forward at least a metre onto them yellow marks, which is the position for pole position for the 37. So a little bit further back here this time.
Absolutely is. The green flag has waved and we are about to go racing once more. 5-second board has been displayed to the drivers. The lights go on and they're extinguished. 20 minutes of racing begins now, and it's a good start seemingly from most of the drivers there in the pack. Let's look at turn 1. Who is leading the way into the first corner? It's Alicia Palmovsky. Palmovsky leads the way. Second place, it looks to be Finn Harrison, who's gotten a good getaway. So on each of the first 2 rows, the driver on the inside has gotten the better start. It's Palmovsky from Finn Harrison. Third place for Chase Fernandez. Our pole sitter Leo Robinson being bullied down to 4th, make that 5th as Hugo Schwarzer gets up the inside of him. The 78 car sideways as well under braking, going into Beckett. Razor Seaworthen there getting a little bit of a wake-up call under braking on cold tyres.
Great move by Hugo Schwarzer there to effectively create the gap down the inside. Now Palmovsky going defensive at the first main overtaking opportunity since the drivers have sorted themselves out into some sort of file, although further down the field they are still 2 and 3 wide. They're going to be that all the way around, I think, onto the old start-finish straight, which we're using here. They are definitely 3 wide in the middle of the pack. Palmovsky, though, will lead them over the line. There's a number of drivers using the extremities of the circuit on the way out of Luffield. which is kicking up some dust in the background, as we've got a driver making a move down the inside there by using all of the curb and a little bit more on the inside.
Yeah, that was Charlie Hart just trying to squeeze his way through the pack. Didn't get the start he wanted from the 5th row of the grid, hasn't really made any upward progress, which is always his goal, given he was a pole sitter, of course, yesterday on the Grand Prix circuit. It's Alicia Palmovsky in the lead of this race for now then. It's 2 of the R Racing cars in 2nd and 3rd place, and look at the number 7 of Slater. Freddie Slater already up into 6th last time across the line, trying to work his way into the top 5. I'll remind you now, he started from 12th position. I note that he's already got 1 wing mirror pushed in, so he's clearly had a few physical moments. The pack all together, and now they fan out into the braking zone at Brooklands. Slater up the inside there of pole sitter Leo Robinson. That means that Slater is up into 4th position. Schwarzer has been swallowed up a little bit. He's down in 7th place after momentarily moving up as far as P4. But what a recovery drive already from Freddie Slater, 12 to 4th in 2 laps.
Well, he got down the inside of Mikey Porter in the early phase of the Maggots and Beckett's complex. Then Porter was forced onto the outside as the train came to the inside. Had nobody to help him in the slipstream. Was lucky to get back in and not lose more space as Palmovsky leaves the door open into Cops Corner. And there's contact on the inside by the 38. And Freddie Slater, I think, is going to come through from 4th place. And Freddie Slater will lead on only lap number 3 of the Silverstone National Circuit, the 2nd race of the day here. And Freddie Slater given a helping hand by the rest of the pack. Palmovsky's been swallowed up, could be 7th or 8th by the time they leave Beckett's.
Yeah, Palmovsky massively swallowed up by the pack there. She's down 6th or 7th position potentially. But Freddie Slater, I mean, he's not been in a class of his own really at any point because he's always got people stuck on his rear bumper. But how has he gotten to the lead in less than 3 racing laps? Incredible driving from Freddie Slater, opportunistic driving from Freddie Slater. They're in 2nd place behind him now. I believe that's Porter as well, who started the lap in 6th place. So Mikey Porter in 2nd place. As off track there goes the 78 of Seaworthen. A couple of others also going off track coming out of Luffield Bend. But for now it's Freddie Slater in the lead, Mikey Porter in 2nd. Then it's Finn Harrison in the 38. And hold on a minute, it's the R Racing top 3 again. They've only found a way to do it. In fact, no, sorry. Okay, good. Finn Harrison for Assetto Motorsport. They can't have it all their own way after all. But what a drive this is from both Slater and Porter.
Well, you know at the start when I said we'll definitely not see the R Racing lot running all the way at the front in formation. Well, what do I know as the top 2 and making their way there. Currently being kept honest though by Finn Harrison and Chase Fernandez. And you can see once again all the field migrating to the inside. This time Slater not able to move out in the same way that he did on the previous lap. Now he moves across into that position. Porter trying to run it all the way around the outside. Can't quite do that in the same way that you can in some of them in the GT Pro cars that we'll see later on in the day. But it's not quite the same trying to run it all the way around the outside on that corner. Looks like Tom Spragg is going to lose a place to the 66 of Freddie Allen as they make their way around Luffield. That's going to move Allen up, I think, into, well, I think he'll remain in 13th at least in terms of the timing, but he had lost a place and now he's going to gain it back, so I think he will stay in 13th. In fact, it's not, it's 12th because they've both found a way past Risa Seaworthen, who dropped a place, having gone through the gravel, of course, on the exit Woodcote on the previous lap.
Yeah, of course, this order has changed significantly from what we had on the grid. Freddie Slater from 12th to 1st position, 11 places gained thus far. Mikey Porter has gained 6. Make that 5 because through goes Finn Harrison at Beckett's. Nicely done by Harrison. Just got to the inside at Beckett's, and Chase Fernandez says, I'll have a bit of that if you don't mind as well. Side by side, no, actually ducking behind Mikey Porter is Chase Fernandez. No doubt he'll try and go to the inside if he possibly can going into Brooklands. We know that Chase is one to try and make the moves any chance he gets, but no opportunity on that occasion. Leo Robinson there in 5th place, of course, he was our pole sitter. Alicia Palmovsky, who was on the front row with him, she's all the way down in P8.
Yeah, led the early phase of the race, and Palmovsky now, who was on the podium yesterday with a superb P2 in the 2nd race of yesterday afternoon, now going to have to work very, very hard. Down in 8th place, but the train of cars from first down into 8th place, split by just under 2 seconds. They are still nose to tail. There's a move, I think, by Fernandez down the inside of Porter. Is that for 3rd place? Into Copse, I think it is, or is Porter back up into 2nd? I think he is. We've got the 2R Racing cars nose to tail once again at the front. So it looks like it was Fernandez getting down the inside of Finn Harrison. Not the only driver getting down the inside of Finn Harrison. Leo Robinson squeezes his way through, and Hugo Schwartzer's coming through as well. Harrison's going to drop from 2nd down to 5th at least. Schwartzer's going to be on the outside by the time they get to the end of the Wellington Straight. I think by then he's going to have ducked back in the slipstream. He already has. Going to try and give that one another go. Palmowski's the first one to come out of the slipstream. Knows the field splits at the end of the straight. Didn't know whether she was going to try and get that run all the way around the outside, trying to get a little bit later on the brakes than the others, but looks like they're still as they were, with the exception of the overtake earlier on. But the field back together again, because earlier on it was the top 8 down to Palmowski. It looks like it could be all the way down to Douglas now in 11th, that are all nose to tail in this Ginetta Junior race number 2 here today on the Saturday of the Ginetta G-Fest.
Yes, exactly. Practically the top dozen now in one long queue, and Freddie Slater feels the need to go defensive towards Copse Corner for the 7th time in this race. It is Freddie Slater from Mikey Porter, our racing teammate. Yes, behaving as teammates. Nah. Chase Fernandez there in 3rd position, just keeping a watching brief for Assetto as well, although I think the 3 may be wise to work together right now. Hopefully they can, because at the moment they're breaking away from this battle for 4th place. Finn Harrison there in 4th position. He's got to pass Leo Robinson once again. It's now side by side between Robinson and one of the others further back. I think it might have been Palmowski. No, in fact it's Schwarzer and Harrison side by side. But nonetheless, the top 3 just a few car lengths clear. I note that Freddie Slater didn't go defensive there either, so I think there may have been some signalling between the 3 to say, hey, we've got the opportunity here to break away. Let's do it.
Well, those behind are doing them some favours as well, because they're squabbling it out over 4th place, and you can see the gap that it's created between the top 3 from Slater, Porter and Fernandez back to Leo Robinson. They had 6/10 between them. I think it's going to be nearer 1.5 seconds. It certainly is this time. Finn Harrison now coming under pressure from those behind. Hugo Schwarzer, Leo Robinson. The top 3 working together didn't quite go to plan, did it?
Yeah, peacetime has ended. Chase Fernandez gets back up the inside of Mikey Porter for 2nd place, and immediately has a go at Freddie Slater up the inside at Beckett's as well, and he manages to pick his way through, only for Freddie Slater to carry the momentum out of the corner and move back into the lead. Fernandez ducks behind the rear bumper as soon as he can. They're now attached to each other, absolutely attached to each other. I don't know if Fernandez is maybe trying to make it a 2-horse race by ditching Mikey Porter. I'm not so sure that's going to work. I think it's going to do more to bring the rest of the top 10 to their bumper than eliminate the threat from Mikey Porter. But nonetheless, Slater briefly losing the lead to Fernandez, but very well counter-attacked.
Well, I saw a comment earlier on the Ginetta TV channel that said, can you bump draft in these cars? You absolutely can bump draft in these cars. There is nothing between them. Down the Wellington Straight, down start finish straight either, absolutely nothing, to the point that Freddie Slater has had to go very, very defensive to the inside solely to try and break the toe from Chase Fernandez behind, and as you can see, that's going to allow Mikey Porter to close up, because he's going to take a more optimal line round Copse, heading towards Maggots and Beckett's this time, and Porter's going to take a wider line this time, trying to get on the power earlier, which is what Freddie Slater did in order to get him. We've got a spin in the middle of the pace, like Leo Robinson facing the wrong way, heavy contact with the back of Robinson. He's definitely out, the left rear wheel facing in the wrong direction.
Yeah, someone in the pack there collecting, didn't quite catch the number on that, but Leo Robinson in a spin. It was one of the Prep Tech cars. I think that may well have been Douglas in the 24, Jocelyn in the 26, but nonetheless, a big moment.
I think it's Jocelyn. I don't think he's set a sector time in Sector 2. Yeah, it is Henry Jocelyn. Yeah. Also out of this race.
That's a shame then for Henry Jocelyn. He got collected in that, although the car was stationary. I think just unsighted there at the apex with so many other cars in front of him. Inevitably, with a car stranded in that position, the safety car is out. So Freddie Slater will continue on in the lead of an isolated race for the time being. But Well, I think we needed the calm downhills there. I'm glad that most of the drivers carried on. Palmovsky was caught out in that one. She continues in 13th. I think a couple of the others who were behind her in the pack also got moved down the order. But unfortunately for both Leo Robinson and Henry Jocelyn, those two are going to go no further.
No, so we're going to have a little bit of an interlude now. As we've got 8 minutes remaining. The time, of course, will go down. There's the car stationary, the field making the way all the way around the outside of the stationary car of Leo Robinson. Henry Joslin was able to take his car under its own power, at least off the circuit, as we see Leo Robinson's car stricken on the inside, the field coming round. So we're going to have a couple of moments of clear up. You see no marshals near that as all the cars came round. They'll now have an opportunity with the field being so close together to now work to clear that car. They're going to get around about a minute and a half or so as the field is slowed down to get the circuit clear. We're definitely not going racing this time or the next, I don't think, but we are going to get an opportunity to see that incident once again that brought a premature end to the race for Robinson and Joslin.
Yeah, so Robinson enters left of frame here. With us is Palmovsky, I think just tagged his rear, and they're just drifting into the path of Jocelyn in the 26. In fact, the car was still very much moving when Jocelyn was corrected, so my apologies to Henry Jocelyn. He really had nowhere to go on that occasion. Both Leo Robinson and Henry Jocelyn will take no further part in this race, sadly. Well, that was unfortunate there. I think everyone concertinaed behind Leo Robinson, and Palmovsky was the one behind to make the little tag there. But I'm sure that efforts will be made to get those cars ready for the races on Sunday, once again here at the Silverstone National Circuit. And, well, the flatbed will be required, and the question is how many laps on the safety car will be required. There's a lot of fiberglass down there on the apex of Beckett's, and I think this could be quite a lengthy recovery.
Yeah, I think we're going to, as the safety car comes round, so we're going to just move. That's why all the marshals moved in. That's Henry Joslin's car, which took the brunt of the impact. What we just about missed just after that was the fact that I think there was Tom Spragg and at least one of the driver just about squeezed through that gap that Henry Joslin effectively created with the contact that he had with Leo Robinson's car that was rolling back. Just after that, Tom Spragg went straight through that gap. I think must have missed the car by less than a few inches, I think, which was lucky for Spragg. He's moved up into 9th place, so 6 minutes to go. That car's going to be recovered, but then they say there is going to be a clear up, which we're going to be needed because we don't want sharp bits of carbon fibre on the circuit. If we do get to go racing again, of course, the top 10 as it stands: Slater, Fernandez, Porter, Harrison, Schwarzer in front of Hart, Douglas, Hopkinson, Spragg and Siwutheran, who managed to take advantage. Palmovsky, who had the looked like there was a little bit of contact with Robinson into that corner, then almost came face to face with Robinson's car that was facing the wrong way, and she had to get heavily on the brakes. She'll resume this race in 13th place if and when we do get this race going again. They're currently just going round. It's taking about 2 minutes a lap, isn't it, for them to get round behind the safety car. So if we do get going, I think we could we have a one-lap shootout here?
Could be possible. I have some doubt as to whether or not we're going to get this race back underway. I'm sure the marshals are doing absolutely everything in their power to make this recovery as swift as possible. But especially with a long straight like Wellington, just after the scene of all of that strewn bodywork and you see the sheer level of debris there on the apex of the corner. I don't think they want to take too many chances with that, so we'll only go back to racing if the circuit is deemed to be in A1 condition once again. We've got 4.5 minutes left on the clock at this stage. Lap takes 1 minute and 11 seconds. So I think if we do get racing again, I think it probably will end up being a one-lap dash. But to be honest with you, with that car just going up onto a flatbed now, the Jocelyn number 26, I reserve my judgment to be a bit of a doubt there.
I think you could be right. Freddie Slater on his way now to what could be a serene victory for him, but really has had to work to get to the front of this one, although did it in the first 3 laps, of course, by effectively taking advantage and threaded the needle many times when there was other drivers squabbling over position. He just picked them off, sometimes at 2 and 3 at a time, by finding the gap, putting his car in the right place and just finding his way through. I don't think that some of the drivers at the front expected Freddie Slater to be on them quite as quickly as he was, and as he took advantage as they come through once again. We are 3 minutes and 20, so they're going to have 2 laps round here. I can't see this one restarting, unfortunately, for everybody with the exception of Freddie Slater, who I'm sure, whilst he would have loved to have won this one under a green flag, will not at all be disappointed to be taking another victory here this weekend.
No, absolutely not. Here's a fun fact for you. The last time by for Freddie Slater, a 1 minute 47.215. That Ginetta LMP1 car yesterday was doing 145s around the Grand Prix circuit. So under safety car, the juniors are actually slower than the LMP1 car on the GP when they're on the National. Absolutely pointless piece of information. Won't even come up in a pub quiz, but it's there if you want it. The flatbed then is recovering the Jocelyn car, and if we are going to get any racing, the safety car would have to come back in this time. The light's still on as they turn into Brooklyn, so I think that more or less outright confirms that this race is going to conclude under safety car, although if they really hurry this lap under safety car, we might just get there for a 1-lap dash. The question is, are we going to see that 1-lap dash? It will be just under 2 minutes left to go when they cross the line this time. So in theory, they could start the next lap with, oh, I don't know, 5 or 10 seconds left on the clock. It's going to be touch and go, but I do suspect we're going to see this end under safety car.
Now, in an ideal world here, Slater would try and drop back, wouldn't he, and try and open up the gap a little bit and slow it all down.
Yeah.
But he has to stay within a certain distance of the safety car. He has to be within what I believe is to be 10 car lengths of the safety car in front of him. He can't just let it disappear and back the entire pack up in a hope that the time will elapse by the time he gets round. It is a little bit quicker in terms of pace now because they're not having to loop all the way around the outside of the stricken car of Leo Robinson. So they are going a little bit quicker under the safety car, but it's going to be tight, isn't it? 1 minute and 10 as they go round Beckett's. They could get round here.
Well, it could be tight if they say the safety car's coming in, and we haven't had that bulletin just yet. The lights are still on. Now, yesterday the lights were turned off just approaching Brooklands on the safety car, and sure enough, hello. Okay then, 50 seconds of racing left to go. I think we are just about going to get one more lap. As long as Freddie Slater gets that power down, it might well be a 1-lap dash then. It's Freddie Slater from Chase Fernandez. In 3rd place, it's Mikey Porter. In 4th position, it's Finn Harrison. 5th place, Hugo Schwarzer. 6th place, Charlie Hart. Why am I reading these names? Because in a 1-lap dash, any one of them could be on top at the end of this lap. Team allegiances, slipstream allegiances, none of it. This is going to be a raw dash to the finish. Slater has punched the throttle now with 15 seconds left on the clock. He will cross the line before they hit down to 0. Let's hope now, after all of this build-up, that there's not a checkered flag waiting for them at the exit of the final corner. No, it's a green flag, and it's a 1-lap dash as they approach Cops.
Here we go then, ladies and gentlemen. Hold your breath. 1 lap to decide the final Ginetta Junior race of the day here. Freddie Slater defensive to the inside, as you'd expect. Chase Fernandez takes a wider line, trying to get the run up towards Maggots and Beckett's, but he's coming under pressure as well from Mikey Porter, who's coming down the inside. Fernandez is going to get hung out to dry on the outside here because Finn Harrison is going to come down the inside as well. All of this playing in the hands of Freddie Slater, who at the front, she's hoping to break away. Fernandez forced wide out onto the rumble strip. Not the only driver as well. We've got grass being thrown up. I think that's Luca Hopkinson out onto the grass on the outside as they head down the Wellington Straight for the final time.
Freddie Slater still in the lead then. Will either of the Assetto drivers be able to do anything? What about Hugo Schwarzer diving up the inside of Finn Harrison? Don't think he's going to find a way through there. Freddie Slater has a car length or two in his favour. Hugo Schwarzer with a bit of a nudge to Chase Fernandez. Please, please, I want that second place. Absolutely not. Freddie Slater, though, controls the safety car restart perfectly. He wins the one-lap dash to the flag. Or does he? Because Fernandez got a bump draft right at the end there. But Freddie Slater just about holds on to it to take another win. 2 wins from 2 on the Saturday here at the Silverstone National Circuit. Good job, Freddie Slater. Chase Fernandez held on to second ahead of Hugo Schwarzer, who made up a couple of positions there right at the end. Finn Harrison in 4th. Mikey Porter in 5th place. Charlie Hart in 6th. Must say a big word to Mackenzie Douglas as well, who was right there on the back couple of rows of the grid. He finished in 7th place ahead of Tom Spragg, Luca Hopkinson and Eddie Robinson. Your top 10. Freddie Slater does it again. I don't know whether he wanted that one-lap dash or not. He's a racing driver. He was also leading, so it's a bit of a toss-up. But nonetheless, Slater did everything perfectly there.
I imagine his heart sank when he saw those lights go out as they came down the Wellington straight just before. After that, though, it looked like he just pressed the reset button. He took a really, really wide line into the Lovefield complex, was able to then get the power down. That gave him enough to get the exit out of that corner. Didn't have to defend too much into Copse, although he did cut out the opportunity for those behind coming down the inside. The big loser, of course, Mikey Porter, who was running right there at the front, did get hung out to dry in that run up towards Maggots and Beckett's on that final lap.
So Freddie Slater claiming the win over Chase Fernandez and Hugo Schwarzer. They'll join Peter Snowden down there on the podium momentarily. Finn Harrison 4th and Mikey Porter rounding out our top 5. Charlie Hart in 6th place ahead of Mackenzie Douglas and Tom Spragg. Luca Hopkinson and Eddie Robinson rounding out the top 10. Alicia Palmovsky will be disappointed to have converted a front row into 11th place ahead of Razor Seaworthen, who's really not quite gelled with the national circuit as he did the GP circuit yesterday. Freddie Allam and Felix Livesey round out the top 14 ahead of Harry Moss in 15th, Holly Mile in 16th, Bria Anglis in 17th, Alfie Davis 18th position. Of course, Leo Robinson and Henry Jocelyn failing to finish after the incident that caused the safety car delay in that race.